And I repeat that for these purposes, the United Nations is at one. I pray that he may be spared many years so that in my modesty I may further disagree with him. I want to go even further than that. We have been witnessing since 1917 a great nation emerge. Its valor, its fortitude, its steadfastness, its ingenuity in the years during which it fought against fascism have established it as one of the prime powers of the world. Little method of knowing about the Soviet people. There are, sir, three further conditions of peace, which again was deferentially I offer to the Assembly. Each power must be willing to permit reasonable access within its borders to the nationals of friendly powers, including accredited newspapermen, and to the bona fide servant of international organizations. Each power must display a consistency of attitude and a sober regard for fact in its pleas, its complaints, its judgment, and its contact. Further, in the international disposal of the problems which lie between us, the nations must not wantonly flout any real worldwide expression of opinion on matters which are of concern to the whole world. Now let me see if I can. Is quite untrue. The conclusions which Mr. Wyszynski dismisses as utterly arbitrary are of course endorsed by 8 out of the 11 members of the Commission. 2 of those who did not approve of the conclusions were, strangely enough, the Soviet and the Polish government. Pasha was himself a signatory to that treaty. But let me return to Mr. Wyszynski's speech. To give another example of gross inconsistency, so gross that I know that Mr. Wyszynski, whose lively and precise mind the whole Assembly admires, cannot have overlooked it. He made a further attack, and I'm sure it's not the last, on the Marshall proposals and the Paris Conference. I hope I make it plain that I naturally do not object to his attack. But Mr. Wyszynski, reared in Marxian thought, and now blossoming forth as a champion of laissez-faire economics, Mr. Wyszynski made great play with the sovereignty as has been the business of these states. But Mr. Wyszynski went on with that oratory, that command, to work himself into a frenzy of righteous indignation because these nations who attended are asked to take part in a cooperative effort to plan in a limited fashion the economy of Europe. He bases his indignation on the fact that they, and I quote Mr. Wyszynski, have an inalienable right to dispose of their economic resources and to plan their own national economy as they see fit. I think that's most excellent. That seems to me most reasonable. That is the understanding upon which they attended Paris. That is a right which my government retains to itself, making only such cooperative planning as it sees fit to make. But Mr. Wyszynski proceeds to say that the United States are villainous, are disturbers of the peace, are breakers up of the international structure. Why? Because apparently they choose to operate this same inalienable right to their own property, which Mr. Wyszynski Kaczynski approves in every European power, but disapproves of without reserve in the case of the United States. There is no consistency by our presence here. There are problems, not only problems of a political kind, but problems of an economic and social kind, that each of our governments admit they cannot solve by unilateral action. Full employment, the limitation of disease, the removal of hunger, the development of energy, apart altogether from the limitations of conflict, are problems which the experts and governors of modern states agree that they can only tackle in the context of international action. Unless, therefore, nations are prepared to come to the table willing to discuss the delimitation of sovereignty in equity and by consent, this United Nations organization is robbed of its meaning, and our presence here is a farce.